There was a castle, and there was a night. A night humming with velvet and anticipation, wine being poured behind thick curtains, oil lanterns flickering along the stone corridors, music weaving between bodies like a scent. It was movie night, an occasion in your small kingdom when artists, dreamers, and people with unfinished poems came together to sit in the dark and watch someone else's heart unravel on screen. You were invited, of course. You always were. But this time, you brought someone with you, the false one. You knew it even then, not in the mind, but in the marrow, in the breath that shallowed when you stood beside him, in the way your skin sometimes recoiled at night when it was meant to lean in. You brought him anyway, because he had come to teach you, because he was kind in the ways that once felt missing, because you had mistaken safety for soul, because you hadn't yet remembered your name. But he had, the one at the door. He was the host of the evening, standing just beyond the threshold in a long coat that brushed the back of his knees, a lantern in his hand, eyes brighter than they had any right to be in that lightning. He was greeting everyone, polite, courteous, as if he were holding back a tide in his chest, until your eyes found his. That's when the air cracked, just a little. Your body kept moving. Smile, nod, small hello. The false one was beside you, his hand grazing yours. You were playing the part that had no lines written for love. You had barely made it past the doorway when you felt it. The movement, the storm. He was coming, through the crowd, through time itself, through whatever veil still stood between truth and choice. He didn't hesitate, not once. He wrapped you in his arms, held you the way people hold promises, like they mean it, like they never want to lose grip. And then he kissed you, not on the lips, not in some secret corner of the night, but on the crown of your head, in front of everyone. Once, twice, 3 times. Mwah. 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 It echoed. It thundered. It made your knees turn to air. Then, still holding you, his mouth near your ear, breath warm and steady, he asked, "Are you okay?" Not as a courtesy, not like people say when they mean hello. He knew. He knew you were not okay. He knew who stood beside you was not who your soul longed for. He knew you had slipped behind a mask to survive. Yeah, sure, I'm fine. How are you? You barely recognized the sound of your voice. It was slurred with ecstasy. You were already gone. He said something about a projection machine not working, something about needing someone to help with the setup. But his eyes had never left the false twin. The words weren't for you, they were for him. A warning, a watchful promise. And just like that, he walked away, back to his post, back to the dark. You took your seat with the false one, but your spirit had already wandered to the back of the room where your true twin sat alone, eating popcorn in another dimension. You watched the movie, or rather, you didn't. You couldn't. You were watching yourself in some future that might never arrive. In some scene where you both sit side by side, legs touching, hands grazing the popcorn bag, laughing at the same parts, crying at different ones, living a life that never had to hide. When the night ended and the castle spat its guests back out into the cold, you and the false one walked home in silence. But he broke it. "That guy's very affectionate with you," he said. You smiled and lied. "He's affectionate with everyone." He didn't buy it, and you didn't care, because for the first time in months you felt alive, drunk on memory, drunk on soul, drunk on a kiss that had nothing to do with lips and everything to do with remembrance. That night stayed with you for weeks, maybe forever. Not because it was grand, not because it changed the story, but because it revealed it. A castle, a door, a kiss. You never sat beside him that night. You never kissed him back. You never even touched his hand. But he knew, and you knew. And for one flicker of a moment, the illusion shattered. And the truth, the whole blazing, inconvenient, magnificent truth, stood naked in the doorway and said hello. Tarot notes. 10 of Swords. The echo of the heartbreak you knew was coming, but still walked into, because part of you needed to feel the end. Page of Swords. The inner witness, always watching, processing, filing every glance, every nuance. The Devil. The intoxicating illusion of the false twin. Seductive, dramatic, karmic, and necessary for your awakening. 10 of Wands, the weight of pretending, of carrying two stories at once, of trying to be loyal to pain while longing for freedom. 4 of Wands, the quiet truth, that even this moment was sacred, a stepping stone to your soul's true celebration.